what lens to get, Lumix 24-70mm or Lumix 16-35mm. One lens is f4 and one lens is f2.8. You maybe have some spare money, you maybe want to invest in a lens and you don't know what lens to get. Maybe you want to have a versatile 24-70mm glorious f2.8 but very expensive lens, but very good lens. Or you want maybe the 16-35mm. You only then have f4, but you can also then use maybe the high ISO. Native ISO is 4000, that compensates a very good low light. I have a low light video here, and you can also use in the S5 as well, in the S1iix, the APS-C mode. So you then can turn your 16-35mm in a focal range like 24-50mm or something. But you have here, I think, a more professional lens. So the explanation is rather simple. I have both lenses, I worked with both lenses, and I can tell you that the 24-70mm f2.8 Lumix S Pro lens is an exceptional good lens. You cannot imagine how good this lens is. The Lumix 16-35mm is also a very good lens. It has very good color rendering, it's very light, it is not so expensive. The Lumix 16-35 is, I think, around 1,600 euro, and this lens, ladies and gentlemen, comes around 2,400 euro. Lumix had recently a price drop of these lenses, but they're still very expensive. This lens is more expensive than this lens. And you maybe ask, what lens do I need? That's a not so easy question to answer. Maybe you are more kind of a travel vlogger, you have a light kit, you want to film yourself a lot, then get the 16-35mm. That's the lens to get. And if you want to work with this lens, if you want to make some money with your videography, if you want to have a glorious shallow depth of field, and if you want to have a very good lens with a nice bokeh and want to have decent quality, then get this lens. If you want to work with your camera, if you really consider to make some money with this camera, then get this lens. You can also work with this lens with like corporate stuff also, but for weddings especially, or if you plan to use it also for good photos with a nice bokeh, then this lens. This lens has nicer bokeh than this lens. Let's change also this lens to 35mm. This lens is now to, let's change it now to like, what is it now? 70. I cannot see it. It's 70mm. That's 35mm. The shallow depth of field is very different in both lenses. It's okay for both lenses, but in my opinion, wins clearly this lens because it's f2.8. But do you need f2.8 all the way? I don't know. That depends on your work style. So low light in both lenses. We have both lenses to the exact same settings. We film in 4K, 180 degrees shutter rule. We film on both lenses now on f4 and on ISO 400. And it's the Cine-like Video 2 something color profile. But one lens then should be a little bit more better in low light conditions. And maybe you can guess which lens is which. No, you can't, because both lenses are exact on the same f4 setting. So let's go to obviously the lens where I can open the aperture even a little bit more. And as we can see now, is this lens much better at low light at this lens. I didn't change the ISO at all. I never touched the ISO. It's ISO 400 in both lenses. But as you can see, is this picture, I can already see it in the screen, much brighter than this. The Lumix S1iix is, in this case, this camera, and the Lumix S5 look most of the time very the same. And it will not matter if you have the Lumix S5 or the S1iix or the S1iix or the S1. It will look all the same, but yeah, for working is the S1iix a little bit better. That's a different story. But f2.8 is much more capable of letting light on the sensor as f4. I mean, f4 is also pretty good in my opinion. You can work with f4. Real estate photography, you need a wide angle lens. When you want to film yourself, you need a wide angle lens. Comparison, next test, vlogging. So watch this. I have this lens on 24mm, and this is the frame you get on 24mm. There's the camera, I have my arm completely straight, and this is the picture you get on 24mm. Vlogging with this is not very cool, because you want to see a little bit more. So let's turn this camera over there that you can see what I am doing now. I open now this lens to 60mm. I can touch this lens. Can you see this? I think yes, you can see this. Thank you very much. And I can touch this lens. I can touch the camera, and you have a huge screen, a huge frame. You can see my environment. You don't want to have always a shallow depth of field when you vlog. You want to see the environment. You want to see the nice beach where you're at, the nice city, etc. And I could now carry this camera when it's not so ultra heavy. Let's carry a full rigged out Lumix S5iix on one hand. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Lumix S5iix vlogging test with the 16-35mm camera, and I can vlog now with this cam. That's ultra heavy, and my arm falls off in the next 30 seconds when I try to hold this longer. But as you can see here, here's the camera. This is the wide angle you get. You can move with it, and it's far better to vlog with 60mm than vlogging with like 24mm. 24mm gives you an excellent look, but it's not for vlogging, not for filming yourself. That's interesting. So let's use auto ISO on both cameras. We have here now in the Lumix S5 the f2.8 glorious lens f24-70mm, and let's check auto ISO. We have 2000 ISO in this camera, and we have in this camera ISO 3200 because that's f4. And what looks better to you? Maybe write it in the comments. What do you think is better? I think when you consider real work, then get the 24-70mm. When you consider yourself as a beginner hobbyist, and if you want to have more fun with the lens, especially if you want to film yourself, get the Lumix 16-35mm. Maybe get the 16-35mm lens first, make some money with it, because this lens, this channel here is always about making money, and I want to improve your capabilities to be able to achieve your videography, video business dreams. So maybe get this lens first, make a little bit real estate videos, cool vlogs, make a little bit money with it, and then get the 24-70mm, because this lens is very expensive, but it's also very good. This lens is also very, very good, but I think you can vlog better with this lens. Maybe you get then after this lens the Lumix 70-200 lens, but that's up to you. So if you're a hobbyist, if you want to vlog, this lens, and if you want to work, then this lens. That's it. I hope I could help you with this video. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.